3 years ago now, because it was three summers ago. I started my mission out here in Peoria, and so we came out to visit my mission, and we came out for a family reunion. So while we were visiting people from my mission, we went to lunch or something, and you can go because that was your part.
So we were talking with some people from Gavin's mission over lunch, and he's a social worker and he works in schools, and she is a teacher, I think, and she was just telling him she wanted him to move out here. And she was trying to convince him, oh, we need more social workers and we use them so much more here than back where you are. And while she was talking, I just kind of got this feeling like, oh, maybe we should move out here. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. And so I just kind of kept it to myself. And as we were driving to our next place, I was kind of just probing him just to see where he was at. I'm like, would you ever move out here? Like, what do you think?
I was like, nope, I never want to live in Nauvoo.
Never. I would never do it.
Never do it.
So I was like, okay, so I'm just going to keep this to myself.
So while we were out here, we were like, well, we have to go to Nauvoo. So we decided, we went to Nauvoo, we did some of the sites, and we went to church, and there was 1,000 people there. I think it was 1,200 people or something there. And they had a high councilman speaking. And he said in his talk, if you are feeling like you're supposed to move here, that's because we're praying for you to move here. And I just like started bawling and crying. And I messaged Brenda and I was like, I don't know what's going on. I think we're supposed to move here. And she's like, I know.
So then I kind of filled him in on my experience earlier. And so we're in the middle of this trip and we're now like trying to figure out what we're supposed to be doing. And
how can we move to Nauvoo? There's no jobs. We're like, I'm a school social worker. You're a physical therapist. We're like, there's no jobs out here. Nauvoo's tiny. And so we started praying and we started looking and watching the housing market and looking at jobs, and we started praying about where we should move. Is it actually Nauvoo, or do we need to live near Nauvoo? And so we started praying, and this town came up, Hamilton, Illinois, and it just kept coming up every time we talked about stuff. And so we looked at Hamilton, and we looked and we saw that not only was it near Nauvoo, it was in the same ward we were attending when we had that impression. And we were like, okay. And then job-wise, my job in Idaho, we didn't know it at the time. And I told them before, I said, hey, I'm moving to Nauvoo. And they're like, what? And I was like, well, are you spiritual? Because I'm religious and we feel like God's asking us to go. And they're like, okay, well, if God says to do something, you got to do it. And it's like, yep. And so I told them beforehand, but then when COVID hit, they ended up getting rid of my entire position without even, so I wouldn't have necessarily had a job. And so then when we moved here, the nice thing was is that one, I found a job doing school social work really easy. There's lots of needs out here there's needs anywhere for mental health. And then because of the cost of living here, Brenda doesn't have to work. And so she was able to stay home with our boys. And then we had a baby girl while we've been here. And this is the first time she's been able to stay home after having a baby. And so she's been home all year, and she's going to go back to work eventually, but she doesn't have to. If she wants to, yeah, she can, but she doesn't have to, like we did in Idaho. And everything here has been amazing. Like, has it been easy? No. Like life isn't always easy. And just like we were told, moving to Hamilton has been rough and has been hard. Our home requires a lot of maintenance, but the blessings outweigh everything that's ever happened. And though we love the ward, and it's been an amazing experience to be here, we love Hamilton. And not that Nauvoo isn't a great place, because it is, but we like Hamilton a lot. And I mean, it's small amount of people. The schools are great. The community's great. There's lots of things to get involved with, and it's been interesting because like a lot of people get called or feel the impression to move to Nauvoo, and we didn't feel the impression to move to Nauvoo. we felt the impression to move near Nauvoo. And and as being here now and we're meeting people in the community, we're like, this is why we're here. It's not necessarily to fellowship and build the ward in Nauvoo, it's to build here where we're at in Hamilton. That we need to get the community involved here and to make friends and to influence people here.
And just to help people understand that we are normal people. We're not weird, crazy psychos. And just to like be a part of everything. I mean, and it's hard because I have no idea what people think of the church here. But like at times I felt a little awkward, like, oh, weird, because everyone here goes to a church. That the Every time I meet someone at a park, oh, what church do you go to? It's not like people aren't religious here. But then you feel a little awkward. You're like, I don't know what to say. Oh, I go to a church in Nauvoo, and being willing to put yourself out there and just tell them, yeah, I go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's like a mouthful, but I mean, like, not hiding who we are so that people do understand that we are regular people and we have, you know,
My
things to offer the community.
my coworkers that I've had, like one, I predominantly work in a field of women and being in schools. And so they were really nervous. Oh, there's this new person, Gavin, and he's a guy and we Facebooked him. We're pretty sure he's Mormon. And it's going to be weird and awkward. And that has not been the case at all. They've actually all said to me later, like, we're so glad you're here. You're like, gave us a whole new perspective. And I've had great gospel discussions with people. And then the callings we've had have just been so inspired. And I know that because in the past I haven't had a lot of membership here, that a lot of the youth have struggled. And that's kind of I work in schools. That's what I work with. And so I know that they had been praying for good youth leaders. And so I was grateful to be called into Young Men's, and like it's been an amazing experience and I love it. And it's been really cool to be a part of. We were kind of the first group to come in. And then since we moved in, there was been like 20 some odd family units that have moved in since we did. And it's just been a really cool thing to see and to be a part of. Like the other day in church, someone asked if anybody in the last 2 years who's moved in because they felt impressed to stand up. And our entire bishopric, our entire a ton of our leaders right now have come because the Lord asked them to. And to be a part of that has been an amazing experience.